I might have saved my cousin. Posted by u/estoa procrastinando. I'm 17F. Just before quarantine I went to visit my cousin, 17M, and he wanted to go out to party. We were drinking before entering a pub, but every time I took a sip of my glass I started to shiver and felt nauseous. When I have tried tobacco the same thing has happened, so I decided to listen to my body and not drink that night. He drank and smoked a lot that night, and while I was not looking, Kate took an ecstasy pill. I don't like drugs, so he didn't want me to know. At around 1 a.m. I started feeling bad, as if I was in a nightmare. I stared panting and decided I needed to go home. He obviously didn't want to go, but I didn't want to go without him. I was so desperate to go that I started to cry, which is very strange for me. While we were in the cab, started vomiting and passed out because of the mix of dangerous substances he had taken in. He was immediately taken to the hospital and remained unconscious for 1 week. If we had taken 5 minutes more, doctors say that he would have not survived. I know this might be a strange coincidence, but I'm convinced that my body knew something was happening and that I had to take care of my cousin. Chills in the Hills. Posted by u/FastAndCuriousSO2. So, it's not a ghost story but something unexplainable for my understanding. A year ago, I was on a road trip to a hill station, with my uncle and his friend, let's call him Mr. M. The first destination, let's call it to point A, was 600 km and around 15 hours journey. We started early at 5 a.m. and targeted 9 p.m. to reach point A. We maintained a steady pace until heavy rains made it impossible to continue further. We were nearly 120 kilometers away from point A and it was 6 p.m., but the rain made us stop for 2 good hours, and by then the sun had already set. As soon as it stopped pouring, we resumed our journey, but now we were slower than before due to slippery roads and less visibility. I remember a board stating point A, 44 kilometers, and since it was a single-lane one-sided road, we were sure to cover it in the next 2 hours, making us reach by 11 p.m. Me and my uncle, saw a white building on our right. It was brightly lit and looked amazing. Next was a small bridge where a bus was parked on left. Nothing unusual, right? Mr. M, uncle's friend, was left a little behind as he was facing some troubles with his luggage tied on the rear seat of his bike. We were alone in the deserted street. Then, after some time riding on a single way, we again, for the second time, saw an astonishing and brightly lit white building on my right, then a small bridge where a bus was parked. It could be a coincidence. Mr. M was still out of sight. I called him and he said to move ahead, he will catch up. We moved ahead. Let me tell you, my uncle is indeed a good rider on hills. He maintained a good pace even in those conditions. But, this time we decided to slow down and eventually come to a halt to catch up with Mr. M. For the third time, straight, we saw a brightly lit white building on our right, a small bridge with a bus parked on left. This was the time we realized something is wrong. Terribly wrong. Mr. M came after a good 15 minutes and asked us why we have stopped. I told him about what we saw and he said he didn't see anything like this and had been riding straight for some time. We asked him to lead the way and we followed. I still remember what we saw and made us weak in knees. It still chills my spine while riding. For the fourth time, we all saw a brightly lit white building on the right and a small bridge where a bus was parked. I shouted, pleaded, apologized, cursed, and asked for forgiveness if we did something wrong. We stopped there for a few minutes as none of us had the courage to move ahead. We prayed to the gods known or unknown and started one more time. Just 2 kilometers ahead we saw a board that said point A 40 km. Neither my uncle nor did I saw it before. We still don't know what was it. Was it a glitch in time that didn't reflect Mr. M, who said we were ahead only 15 minutes while we rode for nearly 2 hours? Or was it an illusion which both of us had and with exact same version of events with no changes in order? We were on the motorway, then suddenly we're not. My partner and I were driving, and about an hour and a half into the drive, which was a straight run on the motorway, we were suddenly not on the motorway. I was driving and it's so weird, neither of us can explain it. We just suddenly were on nearby country roads and had to circle back onto the motorway. Neither of us have any memory of leaving the motorway or how we got where we were. It felt like we teleported. This happened about a year ago. I've just found this sub. It's the only truly unexplainable thing that's ever happened to me. Any thoughts? Mom made a friend who disappeared. Posted by u/Oreo20. Story from my lovely mother who remembered this incident. Not sure if this was more suited here or r/paranormal. 2 years back, my mom went on a solo trip to Tibet. From there, she took the Qinghai-Tibet Railway from Tibet all the way to Xining, which is almost a 24-hour train ride. The more comfortable and expensive rooms on the train were bunk beds on the right and left and a table in the middle. Since my mom was a solo traveler, She wanted to make a friend to talk to during her long train ride, and she decided to talk to the girl who slept at the bottom bunk. Mom said that this girl had very heavy eye bags, which left quite an impression on Mom because she was very pale too, is a university student and was on her way to visit her grandmother. Since they were both going to stop at Xining, they decided to stay together and have meals throughout the 24 hours. Sleeping opposite them was a guy from Tibet who also had small talks with Mom and the girl. Opposite top bunk was empty. During the night, the train only made one stop, but from what Mom remembered, she never recalled the door of her room opening. Light sleeper alert. Sure enough, when they woke up, the girl disappeared. Her bed looked like it was untouched and never slept in, and her belongings were not there at all. The guy was actually the one who woke Mom up and asked her if the girl already left. They both felt weird and decided to ask a train crew member if the girl already left, but the crew member said that the room was only occupied by two of them, Mom and Guy. Mom even went to ask the waitresses on the train if they recalled Mom having a meal with this girl, even describing details, but they said they only saw my mom eating alone. Until now my mom is still confused because she would have believed she hallucinated, but the guy also remembered the girl, and he told my mom that he felt weird when he alighted a few stops before Mom. Edit. Asked Mom about whether she ever suspected girl was a ghost. Mom said now she is convinced it was a spirit sent to accompany her. Human trafficking is scary, but could also be a possibility, which I hope isn't true. It scared her when I mentioned this because now she feels as though she's being watched. Wherever that girl is or was, Mom hopes you're doing well. I've mistaken a random girl for another girl I haven't seen in 4 years, and then the crazy happened. This happened a year ago. I was shopping at a mall and took a bus there because I had no car at that time. As I finished shopping, I went to the bus stop at 10 p.m. and had to wait around 20 minutes there for the bus to arrive. Despite it being close to the mall, this bus stop was a pretty neglected one. Not many people took it, so in general it was an empty scenery with just a few cars passing by, especially at night. So as I was waiting, I was looking around and saw a woman approaching the bus station from around the corner. She was like 50 meters away from me when I noticed her, and as I was looking at her, she really reminded me of a girl I knew in middle school that I haven't seen in more than 4 years. Let's call her Lucy. In my mind I went, holy shit, is that Lucy? I haven't seen her in ages, and as she came closer to me I realized, that's not Lucy, it's a random woman. Keep in mind, at this point there was absolutely no one else I saw at this location for the last 15 minutes, and I haven't seen or even thought about Lucy ever before this moment. I simply continued waiting, and after 2 minutes the actual real Lucy comes around the same corner and starts walking towards the bus station. I couldn't believe it. What are the possibilities of that happening? I haven't talked to her at that moment because I'm an awkward fuck, and the bus came immediately after she arrived. That moment still buzzes me to this day. My phone call might have traveled through time, posted by you/goodadeem, so I've just stumbled across this sub, and a memory popped into my head that I thought would be fun to share. This is probably the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. I had decided it was just a crazy coincidence. But sometimes I wonder. It was around 2002 and I had traveled into Cardiff, Wales, UK, to meet a friend to go shopping. I was 13 to 14 years old, and had traveled into the city by train with my cousin. I didn't have a mobile phone, but I had my friend's mobile number on a piece of paper. I was planning to use a phone box, but once we arrived my cousin said I could use her mobile phone. We were in a shopping arcade when I took her phone and dialed the number. I distinctly remember hearing weird static/beeping noises before the call started ringing. A teenage-sounding girl answered the phone, which threw me off for a beat. I asked if Josh, I've changed the name, was there, assuming he must have brought more friends, and had one of them answer the phone for him. The girl on the phone paused and said, yeah, 1 second. Then I heard the girl yell, Josh, someone is on the phone for you. Then things got weirder. I distinctly heard someone running downstairs as if they are in a house. My friend is supposed to be in the city center at this point. I hear the phone being picked up and a voice says, hello. This person sounds like a little boy, maybe 6 to 8 years old. The voice I'm expecting is my 16-year-old friend. I assume I'm being pranked and say, Josh, come on now, or something to that effect. The person just says hello again. Now I'm not sure what to do, so I say, Josh, is that you? The little boy responds, yes. I pause for a moment, still trying to figure out if I'm being screwed with, and then say, Josh Harding? The little boy says, yes, I'm Josh Harding. Now I pause in panic and confusion and say, I must have the wrong number, then hang up. I look up at my cousin who was watching me on the call and say that was weird, as I try the number again. This time I'm greeted by my friend's voice who asks where I am. I tell him, and also allude that it was a good prank just now. He says he doesn't know what I'm talking about, so I just hang up. My friend turns up after a few minutes and I quiz him with, "Why did you put on that kid's voice? Who was the girl? What stairs had you come down?" He says he has no idea what I'm talking about and says that he has only received one call from me, not two. I have no idea what happened. I do find it funny that somewhere, sometime, a little boy was addressed by full name only to be told by the caller that they had the wrong number.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.